Hello. Good journey, everyone. Welcome to Space Oats Live, a Star Wars podcast. I am the Crucial Crew member, Jay, and we're going to talk a lot about Star Wars tonight. As usual, thank you for listening in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for doing whatever you do to get this podcast stream. If you're listening, it's probably way behind because I don't upload them very much on Spotify and podcast. It takes me a while to get those up, so you're probably way behind on seeing this if that's the case. But yeah, so today is December 12th, 2023, and we're going to go over some Star Wars. We're going to talk a little bit about something that happened in Star Wars history today. We are going to talk a little bit about some releases that have come out this past week. We're going to talk about Star Wars in general and how inspiring it is. To me, kind of a little bit of memory lane. I know I've discussed a little bit of it here before, but it's been a long time, probably about a year since I've done that. Some of the first episodes and why I actually wanted to do something like this. So we'll revisit some of that. And I have a crucial character pick. Some obscure character from one of my favorite episodes of The Bad Batch. Yeah, one that I actually rewatched today, and yeah, has a little bit of connection to one of my favorite scenes in The Phantom Menace. So let's start off, first of all, with Today in Star Wars. Since I usually do a post every day on my Instagram page, the Crucial Crew member, I post something usually today in Star Wars. Sometimes I go live and talk about it. Perhaps you've seen me over there. But yeah, usually I do something today in Star Wars. If you actually looked at my post today on Instagram, I did post about Today in Star Wars on my Instagram page, and I'm going to go ahead and share what I posted, and we'll talk about that a little bit. So let me just throw that up there. Share the screen because it has to do with The Empire Strikes Back, December 12th, 1980. The year that The Empire Strikes Back came out. Obviously, this is a movie poster. Obviously, it's in a different language. Maybe you recognize what language that is from. But yeah, so The Empire Strikes Back today in Star Wars history opened in Germany for the first time. It also opened in Austria for the first time. I could not find anything like an Austrian poster. I know this is one of the German posters. Could not find an Austrian poster anywhere. Quite expensive if you want to pick up one of these, by the way. They go for like upwards of like 500 and up to get an original poster from The Empire Strikes Back. So yeah, maybe there's replicas out there that you can get or print or whatever. But The Empire Strikes Back definitely being one of my favorite Star Wars movies. Probably my second favorite. It always goes back and forth between that and Return of the Jedi, and being the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi and all sorts of other throwbacks to that right now, I got that at my top of my list. But yeah, The Empire Strikes Back really always up there. Always enjoy watching that one. It's great, and yeah, so The Empire Strikes Back released today in Germany and Austria for the first time today in Star Wars history, December 12th, 1980. I'm trying to think of how I want to do this and how I want to talk next. Do I want to talk about more of the inspiring stuff, or do I want to save that for last? Might want to save that for when I get some other people jumping on. I know that I saw somebody jump on and maybe they jumped off, but say hello if you're here. And let me know what inspires you with Star Wars, if that's the case. Go ahead and throw that in the comments. Maybe there's a special movie that you have. It might not even be your favorite. It's just maybe something that in one of the movies that like really hits you, has a special meaning for you. Maybe it's a book, maybe it's some of the music. Maybe it is something that you've experienced in real life, meeting somebody from that has connections with Star Wars, or maybe it's an experience that you've done, perhaps Star Cruiser, that is your, some kind of outstanding experience. So I'll talk about that a little bit later, but yeah. Um, I wish, see, I want to start like doing stuff like polls and stuff, or questions. I guess I could just write that up in the comments and anybody that joins in. But yeah, let's just go ahead and talk a little bit about that then. Inspiring moments of Star Wars. I'll go ahead and I'm going to throw the question out there, and then if anybody pops in, or if I'm watching this later and I see these pop in, um, let's see. Do you have a moment in Star Wars that has inspired you? Moment in Star Wars that has, I'm not the best typist, inspired you. So we'll throw that out there. Do you have a moment in Star Wars that has inspired you? So I was born in 1979. 1979. So just not too long after the original Star Wars film came out. I was kind of born into a Star Wars family because my brother, he was older than I was. He's 8 years older than me. Already was a Star Wars fan. So he already had, merchandise in his room, toys. I still have leftovers from his collection. I think actually even like right behind me, because I believe the Yoda up there is yeah, the original from him. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop that stream because you might not be able to see the Yoda, and maybe I'm gonna switch cameras too because I still have my front facing camera on, and I'd rather go to this one because it's a little bit more crystal clear. How about that? Yeah, and you can actually see that Yoda up there on that shelf right in front of the CSL wine glass right there. But yeah, so I always like, I don't even remember. I almost kind of take it back to in Return of the Jedi again. Big feelings for Return of the Jedi, because Return of the Jedi is really like the first movie that I ever like really remember connecting with, because that was the first movie that I ever saw in theaters, was Return of the Jedi. But so a lot of like parallels with my feelings for Star Wars comes back to Return of the Jedi, and I always like go back to um, that moment when Luke and Leia are talking at the end, and Luke is asking Leia about if she ever remembered um, her mother, her real mother, and Leia's reaction, and basically her saying that it's just really feelings and images, and like honestly, like that's my thought process when it comes to like my memories of Star Wars when I was younger. We have a lot of photographs that you can see when I was really little, and you'll see me with like Star Wars action figures, and I have images of me remembering like playing with Star Wars figures. Like those are my first memories. Is like playing with the figures. Maybe my brother was at school or wherever, but like playing with the figures in the basement, in the living room, in my room, in the attic, outside, just like creating stories that I really didn't even, maybe even had not even seen the movies yet, or seen maybe very little of them. I do recall probably the first time I ever saw one of the movies had to have been at my aunt's house, because they lived like a couple doors down from us, and they had they had cable, so they had HBO, and when it was released, they recorded it on video cassette, And I do remember like going over there and watching them at their house. But I don't even remember like which movies I watched over there. Um, I just can't like, I guess it was either Star Wars or Empire Strikes Back. But I don't like remember per se like actually moments and scenes. It wasn't until, obviously until Return of the Jedi came out that I really start remembering the fandom really starting to kick in, me becoming that Star Wars fan, um, and going to the movies and getting my first Star Wars action figure, which was Tebow, the Ewok from um, Return of the Jedi, which I actually still have. He's actually right over there on the floor because I was moving some stuff around and he fell on the floor, and I actually see him. The only thing that I have left of him is his little horn. That's it. His staff, his uh, his hood, everything else is missing. His hatchet, all that gone. Um, but I still have my first Star Wars action figure that I had for myself. Um, Yeah, and I remember like, obviously when I went and saw the movie, so that was 83. So, I was like 4 years old at the time. Not even. I think I had just turned 4. Um, yeah, I just turned 4. Um, when it just came out. And that was like there was a new house. We had just moved at the time. Meeting new friends. I had a neighbor that was that I'd met. It was my same age, and we kind of we grew up. We went to school together. We grew up together all the way up through high school. And we were Star Wars. Like he was a Star Wars fan. I was a Star Wars fan. He collected the figures, so I collected the figures. We would play with them outside. He would bring some over to my house. I would bring some over to his house. It was a great walking distance. So, we had our carrying cases. We would bring our favorite figures and we'd play. We'd act out Star Wars. Growing up in Maryland, you had the Four Seasons. We lived near wooded area, so we could recreate like all sorts of Star Wars scenes. And like those are like my best memories of like Star Wars. And just in the basement of my house, I would sometimes just create crazy, with boxes. I would create like Death Star scenes and all sorts of things, and it was just so much fun to kind of just remember all that going through the things that that we used to do. I mean, of course, I destroyed a lot of my Star Wars figures playing with them outside, the originals, which I wish I was able to have the foresight to keep them all intact to kind of have them to this day, but I don't. Um, but then Star Wars kind of took on a different meaning for me because at the age of, I guess, 8, around 8 was when I started having a lot of health issues. Um, and I was in and out of the hospital. And then The Empire Strikes Back really started to kind of really be a movie that impacted me a lot because it was a darker film and I was going through a darker time. And just the journey that Luke would go through in that film. And at the end, there's that hope. And that meant a lot for me, especially with what I was going through. And I saw a lot of parallels to, Luke losing an arm, to, certain things that I was going through at that time that I don't talk a lot about with people, but unless you're really close to me. Uh, and I felt a lot of parallels to that. So, but it gave me hope. I clung to that hope, and then going back again to Return of the Jedi, and just the triumph of good over evil. Again, and Star Wars basically helped me push through those times. It was a big help for me. I would just, for a lot of times, just sit there and rewatch the movies over and over and over again, or read books. Because about that time as well, that I went through a lot of those things, that was when certain books were coming back out, new Star Wars stories, Heir to the Empire, um, the Timothy Zahn trilogy at that time. So all of that I was getting lost into. Video games, whatever Star Wars games were available, I would be just all over Star Wars. Um, so yeah, it meant now as I get older, I go back and I see a lot of like just interesting things that Star Wars is relatable to me in every day, when it comes to faith, to beliefs, to hope. Even going back to the first film, with the Force and just that part of it, and the different characters and what their beliefs are, yet how they're able to work together and have this great camaraderie and this great team that they have, and that's helped me so much, not only in life, everyday life, but at work and so forth, because everybody has differences, different beliefs, different opinions, and so forth. And Star Wars basically teaches you that it doesn't matter, what others, if they believe the same thing you believe, you can still partnership with them. You can still succeed with them. You can still create that teamwork, create that friendship. Um, and Yeah, so just like it continuously inspires me each and every day. When I moved down here and started working for Disney, knowing that Disney was tied into Lucasfilm, I was really excited about that. Never would I have dreamed to be able to work on the Star Cruiser, which I was selected for the opening team. But actually, let's backtrack a little bit, because working for the company, being able to see Galaxy's Edge open and being there for the first time when it opened and walking into that area, that was something that was just at that point in time was a dream come true. Being able to actually live and breathe in an immersive environment, do things such as build your own lightsaber, talk to characters and interact with them in a storied environment, um, fly the Millennium Falcon, be involved in the Resistance, the First Order, um, doing those little missions around Batu. Still to this day, that are just so much fun, even after it's been open for some time, and I still get a kick out of that, and I love it. The addition of the bounty hunter missions, and looking forward to whatever else they expand upon with that type of storytelling, because that that's going to be more and more. Because being a part of, again, that Star Cruiser team, seeing what Disney can do with immersive storytelling and using Star Wars to really catapult that, to show that, um, really was it was just crazy, life changing. I wanted to stay there forever and continue to basically involve myself in whatever I could with that journey. Um, However, we kind of knew that that was not going to happen, and there were other things that were pushing me, other people that were pushing me to another path, which I'm grateful for, and I'm grateful for where I am now, and I use that experience every day, to help my team to continue to be inspired, and I hope I do that every day. But yeah, just like, I mean, there's just so many characters that I love. The creativeness of the characters in all of the Star Wars stories, um, the different morals that you learn. I mean, the Clone Wars, all the different morals that go along with each episode. Um, the thought process that went into that was just outstanding, and I love like just going through and reading those quotes at the beginning, those little moments that kind of help tie in the theming, which are also everyday life types of points, which is pretty amazing. So, um, but yeah, so if I were to probably have a character that I would pick as far as maybe the most inspiring character. It's tough because there's a lot of them. But honestly, like going like right now, I would say that right now it would be Luke. Just because Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, um, being my two favorite movies, the struggles that he overcame, the hope, and then being able to accomplish, overcome, and have that win at the end. So inspiring. So, but anyway, that's my little moment. I would love to hear some comments, read some comments a little bit later on anything that you found inspiring from the galaxy far, far away. Um, because everybody has a lot of different really cool stories about where they are now, and maybe Star Wars got you there. And I love hearing all those. Kind of basically thought about that because of there was a StarWars.com fan spotlight on StarWars.com with Tori Fox, who I've met Tori. Tori's amazing, and friend of a friend, and spent some time with her, and she's outstanding, and she has a really cool inspiring story on StarWars.com. So I would highly recommend that. If you get a chance, go over there and read that. Let's see. There's a couple different releases that have come out this past week, or talked about releases, which are kind of exciting. One of them is actually really exciting because it's out. We have a lot of High Republic stuff coming out, and then we also have a lot of stuff coming out. There's still comics, around the original trilogy era that are getting released, but most of it's High Republic stuff, and there's so much focus on the High Republic in the printed format. But there has been announced a new Mace Windu novel. And it has some ties to Qui-Gon Jinn, which is really cool. And it's called The Glass Abyss. And it's a novel by Stephen Barnes. And yeah, so that's coming out August 6th of next year from Random House Worlds. And it takes place right after The Phantom Menace, the death of Qui-Gon Jinn. And there's a message, a posthumous message from Qui-Gon that Mace Windu finds. And he goes on this journey basically with this pertaining to this message. So Stephen Barnes, no stranger to Star Wars, wrote Star Wars Legends material, the Cestus Deception, as well as a whole bunch of other sci-fi novels, and even dived into some TV series. So, but outside of Star Wars, but the Glass Abyss Mace Windu novel has a really cool cover, and yeah, to get a little bit of exclusive content from that, you can head over to StarWars.com. But that might be something that might be interesting, a little bit different from the High Republic. But obviously, we're still getting a lot of High Republic printed material coming out. We have a 4-issue miniseries that'll be kicking off April the 10th that was just announced. And that is from Dark Horse's Star Wars The High Republic Adventures. And it's Saber for Hire is the title of that one. And it is the Jedi Ty York is returning in the series. So we get to learn about York who left the Jedi Order and became a mercenary hunter. We're going to see some challenges with them and the Nile. And yeah, so got a 4-issue series starting April the 10th. So, and that's going to be within that Phase 3 timeline. Let's see, what other releases have happened? Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2 on 4K, Ultra HD, and Blu-ray. So that is actually, I think, available now, maybe? Yeah, I think that's available now. Seasons 1 and 2. You can get those at Best Buy, Amazon, Walmart, all those good spots. I'm debating actually getting those, at least the first season anyway. A lot of packed extras and some great original box art, some concept art cards and never before featurettes and things. But looks really cool, so I think I might pick that up. I haven't picked up anything from Star Wars DVD wise in a long time, but might want to pick that up. So we'll see about that. But and then we had some releases with a couple. I haven't watched these because I just actually found out about it today. They were actually released today, I think. But a couple, like 3 new holiday shorts for Lego Star Wars. So Lucasfilm's Jason Stein and writer David Shane have 3 new little tales from the galaxy far, far away. I think they're titled. One of them's titled Chewie's Holiday Cheer Up, which is going through another Life Day surprise. Tenu Treasures, which is from the Young Jedi Adventures kind of spin-off there, and has Yoda recruiting Kai Brightstar and Liz for some wreath building. And then 'Twas the Night Before Life Day, featuring full voice acting, tells of a White Bantha game on the Death Star that is heavily titled In the Emperor's Favor. So yeah, so check those out. They are on Star Wars Kids YouTube, I believe. Yes, Star Wars Kids YouTube channel. So if you're into those Star Wars Legos shorts, go ahead and check those out. I'll probably check those out either tonight or tomorrow. Then a couple different featurettes happened on StarWars.com, kind of going back to the Visions season 2 with they were doing a lot of stories on some of the writers and directors of some of those Vision season 2 shorts, and kind of following up with that with another series with Gabriel Osorio from the In the Stars episode. So, which was a really good episode. It's one of those episodes that had an interesting little connection to the Force that wasn't very strong, but it just had a really moving side. I didn't like that episode at first, but then the more I watched it, that episode really did grow on me. And then also another little inside Ahsoka featurette as well, with Natasha Lou Bordizzo and Ivana Sankno. As we know them as Sabine Wren and Shin Hati. And yeah, so, and them playing those characters and what that was all like. And then there's also a recipe for some galactic blue milk eggnog. If you're an eggnog fan and you want to mix that up. I'm not really an eggnog fan, so I prefer the bourbon. Anyway. But yeah, so a lot of cool release stuff out. And then finally, again, I'm really tired today, by the way. I did a whole full Magic Kingdom day, by the way. But so crucial character pick. So the Bad Batch, like I said, I was kind of looking at the Bad Batch and going through some episodes of the Bad Batch, and I kind of probably should revisit season 1 again. Because I was just thinking about this, and I really started thinking about this last minute. I knew I wanted to do something from the Bad Batch and pick a character from the Bad Batch that was, and I couldn't really remember a lot of the side characters from season 1, but season 2 had a lot of cool stories. And one of my favorite stories from season 2 was Faster. It was the 4th episode of season 2, I believe. And it was one of those quests where, because season 2 started diverting into like telling certain characters stories, like getting a little bit more in depth and connections with characters. We had those standalones with Crosshair, and we didn't even see any of the other characters, those types of things. So Faster kind of had that aspect where it took like half of Clone Force 99. Because we just basically used Wrecker and Tech and Omega, and they were sent to basically I forget what planet they went to. Let's see if I can't find that again. They went to, that's right, Safatoma. Yeah, so basically Sid has a new racer, is into all obviously all these different ventures that Sid has. And I mean, I love pod racing. So pod racing, that was like one of my favorite parts of the Phantom Menace. And I love how this kind of has this connection to pod racing, a lot of connections actually to the pod racing world. And what did they call it on it? Riot Racing. That's right, Riot Racing. I don't know why I kept like forgetting what it was called. Right? Is that what it was called? Riot Racing? Pretty sure it was Riot Racing. I am like totally off my game tonight. Why can I not find what it was called? I think it was Riot Racing, I believe. That is crazy. But they go with Sid, and man, it doesn't say what it was called. I know it says it in the episode. That's weird. Pretty sure it's Riot Racing. Now I like really want to just like for sure know what it was called. And I don't know why it doesn't like say at all anywhere. Just says racing, but I think it was called Riot Racing. Anyway, whatever. That's gonna bother me now. I'm gonna have to watch the episode again. But anyway, so Sid takes Wrecker and Tech and Omega to that planet that I just said, and I just forgot it already, for the Riot Racing, to basically, show off her new racer that she has invested in, which is Teo, the droid, which I love Teo. Teo is great. Teo was funny. Kind of had that C-3PO vibe, kind of that annoying, stuck up, I'm all that feeling. I love that. And we learned a lot about Tech, and Tech kind of came out of his shell in this one. Tech, I think this was like the beginning of us kind of really forming a connection with Tech, to make it that much harder for the end of season 2. So Tech kind of coming into his own in this one. which was great. But honestly, that is not the pick that I have. I actually liked the other character, the Malagi's racer, which was a really cool character in his own right. Jet Venom, who is a Nosarian. And I love Nosarians. We don't see many Nosarians in the Star Wars galaxy. And it's funny because we've seen two of them, two major characters, two minor characters that have played a big part in racing. So they must be really good racers as far as their species. Interesting that they never speak Galactic Basic. They always speak just in their language. And this one, Jet, is a little bit more of a baddie racer because he's doing the riot racing. So we met another Nosarian in the Phantom Menace because he was in the pod races, the Boonta Eve Classic, and but Jet, he's a winner for Malagi. And he didn't like it when he lose either. He almost, tried to kill them at the end. He tried to pull a blaster on him, but kind of Malagi just kind of waved him down. But who knows? Maybe we'll see him again in the future somewhere. But yeah, so I love those side characters. Like I said, those side characters sometimes just like jump out at me, and a character doesn't even have to actually speak a line that you can understand, but there's a lot of depth to that character, and I want to know more about that character. Like those types of characters I always like to know more. Like why do they get into these pod racing? What started them off down the road to jump into these pods and go on these courses that are dangerous as they are, and obviously be working under a crime lord. So you wonder, how much winnings is he getting out of this? But yeah, so Jet Venom is definitely one of my crucial side characters picks of the Bad Batch. One of those little side characters that I really like. There's no merchandise on him. They don't have a lot of merchandise for the Bad Batch, honestly, but outside of the main characters. There's not much that I can find out there, but yeah, can't wait for season 3 at some point. We'll be looking into that, but and can't wait for that. But yeah, so that is my crucial character pick for the Bad Batch. One of the minor characters. We'll do a major character a little bit down the road, but I always like to pick a very small minor character. Again, that's one of my favorite episodes, Faster. Faster, it's one of those stories that kind of takes you away from the bigger picture. It got really intense after that, with a lot of connective theming down the road, which all led all the way to the end of the season. But those like first 4 or 5 episodes had a lot of side quests, and I like those side quest episodes because you really do dive into some of the characters a little bit more in depth, like I said, and you learn a lot about Tech, and him kind of really finding himself in that episode. And he was pushed hard, and those other characters helped him do that. So even if they're on the wrong side, so Jet Venom, my crucial character pick from the Nosarian. Love the Nosarians. They're great racers. But yeah, we need more pod racing. We need more racing stuff in live action. Speeder bike races, drag races, something like that. We need more of that kind of stuff in Star Wars. You'd think we'd get some more of that in like the Mandalorian type stuff, because you're dealing with like bounty hunters and all that. But I mean, we got the underworld like wrestling, boxing with the Gamorreans in the beginning of season. Was it the beginning of season 3 of The Mandalorian? Or the beginning of season 2? Okay, I think it was the beginning of season 2. Yeah, but anyway, love a good pod race. I agree with Dano on that one. I think he loves pod racing too. But yeah, that's about it. I think that's it for tonight. Again, did a long day of Magic Kingdom today. Rode pretty much every ride. Rode Tron, as well as everything else. Ran into some people. Had some good food. Had a big Thanksgiving dinner at Liberty Tree Tavern. It's a good place. Yeah, so I am going to be going to Epcot tomorrow. Some speeder bike. Honestly, speeder bike racing. So now you're gonna get me talking more, Ben. Welcome, by the way. Speeder bike racing. I think one time, I don't know who put it out there, but there was a thing on Facebook one time about if you were to design a new ride at Galaxy's Edge, what would it be? And my pick would be a speeder bike chase through the streets of Batu. And it would be kind of like Flight of Pandora, but I wouldn't say it would have to be as like big of a screen to go that high. I would say it would be more like, like lengthwise, maybe as long as, because I know the buildings that I've seen them backstage. So I would say it would be more like lengthwise as Star Tours, with maybe stacked on top of each other, so like 2 stories, but then like that wide. So like that many cars. So if you like you go in there, you go up to Star Tours and you see how many pods there are, double stacked. So capacity would be about the same going in and out, but the screen wouldn't be like super high, because I don't think, like, if you're doing a speeder bike chase, you would want to be feeling like you're low. So you wouldn't want to have that aspect of having a large screen where you're like looking way down and way up. But a speeder bike chase scene through the streets of Batu, I think, would be amazing. And like, you get on your speeder bike, so you get that feeling like you do on Flight of Passage, where you're not on a Banshee, but instead you get to get on a speeder bike. And I think the controls should be like the same, a little bit, like maybe like, the foot pedal thing is like the throttle, and it could be, I don't know, maybe it could be a little bit like, I don't know if I'd want it like VR. I'd want it in front of a screen like Pandora. But it would be cool to have that. Like, so, and it almost could be a carry through story either after Smuggler's Run or after Rise of the Resistance. For like either way, you could, or they could make it have a double story, like a randomized, where it could carry off of both of them, and you don't know which one you're doing. So like, if let's say you got some of the coaxium, maybe somebody's chasing you, and you're now you got to transport that coaxium from one end of Batu to another, with some other syndicate that's after you. And then also the First Order gets involved, TIE fighters coming down, shooting, blasting, and you're going through the streets of Batu. Or that could be the First Order side, like the Rise of Resistance. You make it to Batu and in your pod, and then you have to go escape, and the First Order is after you again, and you get on some speeder bikes and you race through Batu. So I think that would be a cool ride to add to Galaxy's Edge, a speeder bike racing ride. But yeah, definitely more speeder bike racing. I would love to see more speeder bike stuff Yeah, definitely. I mean, we got a little bit of it in Mandalorian. I think it was season 2. There was some speeder bike stuff, which is pretty cool. They keep popping up. Maybe John Favreau likes speeder bikes. Coaxium pull behind you, like running on the bikes in Rebels. Yeah, that would be awesome. The only thing is like I know that you probably wouldn't, unless they somehow figured it out, but you wouldn't be able to like look behind you and see the screen behind you, because it would have to be like almost like a volume if they did that, which would be cool. But I don't know if they would spend the money to be able to put you in speeder bikes in like a room like that. I think it would work well, kind of like Pandora though. And you wouldn't even have to have the back of the bike, like, but it would be cool to actually have the speeder bike. I mean, wouldn't that be awesome sitting on the speeder bike and just like, oh man, it rocking back and forth, hitting the blasters, shooting stuff. That would be so cool. I miss the speeder bike that they used to have in Hollywood Studios across from Star Tours. They used to be able to do like the photo op. I wish they would bring that back and put that somewhere, because that was always a cool photo op spot. But yeah, but yeah, I remember posting about that one time. Somebody posted something about rides and in what would be a ride that you would think up of, and that would be a cool addition, I think. If they wanted to do another ride, a speeder bike chase. Yep. I mean, they could do a roller coaster with it, but I don't think it would have as much impact. I feel like Tron. Just outside Sci-Fi Dine-In. What's outside Sci-Fi Dine-In? The speeder bike used to be kind of like, it used to be where the new bathrooms are. The new bathrooms that are there. It used to be like right there. Which was, yeah, kind of across from Sci-Fi Dine-In, across from Star Tours entrance. Flight of Passage ride. I think it would do well as a Flight of Passage ride. I don't know. Who knows? I have a feeling that they could do some expansion with Flight of Passage. So I also would love to know more about Dagobah. I'm watching Empire Strikes Back, by the way, because again, it was released today in Germany in 1980. But I was thinking about it. I've watched Empire a lot lately. Shooter works there before the bathrooms. Yeah. Um, has and I don't read a lot of Star Wars, and I may have missed this, but have they ever gone? I think they have explained it, but I don't know if it's in Legends and they've gone and redone it, because I do remember reading something about Dagobah and the origins of the dark side location, but I don't remember if that was Legends or if there's been updated material on that about why that area on Dagobah is strong with the dark side of the Force, and what is it. Um, I'd like to see some more insight on that. I'll have to go look that up. But yeah, I vaguely remember reading something in some book at some point where Luke went back to Dagobah. It may have been in the Thrawn trilogy, but I can't remember. But I do remember something in Legends books about a little bit more background on that part of Dagobah. And I don't think they've revisited that or revised any of that. I think that would be a cool revisit somehow, somewhere along the lines, going and learning a little bit more about what that place is and who was there. I love Empire Strikes Back. It's great. I like watching sometimes with the subtitles, which I was doing yesterday. Sometimes you catch things that you don't catch, or you don't remember things that were said the way they were. Maybe a word just being off a little bit different, the way the question was asked, or the way the comment was made by certain characters. Sometimes it has a little bit more impact when you actually like, oh, they said that word, not that word. It was more of in a form of a question. Okay, I get that. The bounty hunters. The one change in the special edition that I really didn't like was Boba Fett. I know that they were trying to keep it continuity with Tamora Morrison's voice, but just that quick response of "as you wish" was not as. I just that old version where he just kind of says it nice and slow, "as you wish," and then the newer version, he says it just a little bit too, almost like Vader commanding him and him. As you wish. I wish it was just a little. I don't know. I'm not a director. What do I know? But anyway, poor Captain Nita getting ready to get his demise. So I love also the fact that obviously the Empire doesn't really know much about the capabilities of ships, because they just hire Boba Fett to track down the Millennium Falcon. The Millennium Falcon makes an attack run on the Star Destroyer. Captain Nita says they can't have disappeared. No ship that small has a cloaking device. Yet, Slave One has a cloaking device. Right? Because that's why he can follow so closely to the Falcon without getting tracked, right? So it's like if they just hired a bounty hunter with a ship with a cloaking device that has a small ship, how does he not know that small ships have cloaking devices? I don't know. He deserved his death. Let's just put it that way. He wasn't a very good soldier. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign off because, I'm just rambling. I'm watching Empire Strikes Back. This is just getting a little bit more of like a watch party now, which I do. I watch Star Wars every time I do this, kind of like Dano does. I started watching him, and he does watch parties. I don't really do the watch party, but I'm watching The Empire Strikes Back. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you for joining in. I appreciate everyone that watches. Please subscribe. Please like this. Look for some post of mine. I haven't posted anything about my trip to Magic Kingdom yet today. But look for some posts, hopefully, and I'll be able to do that. And I'm going to Epcot tomorrow. Festival of the Holidays tomorrow. Maybe watching the fireworks tomorrow for the first time. But until next time, watch some Star Wars, listen to some Star Wars, play some Star Wars, read some Star Wars. But most importantly, remember, may the stars light your way. Take care, everyone. Thank you for joining in.